Ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. Start the show. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome into another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show, a proud member of Underdog and the Underdog Fantasy family. Reminder, if you use code TRIPLE at checkout when you are depositing your first time over on Underdog, you will get a 100% deposit match up to $100 if you use promo code TRIPLE. So make sure you check out Underdog Fantasy, all the best ball content that's over there. We do tons of mock drafts or regular drafts every single week here on the YouTube channel that you guys can check out if you're not sure what best ball is, but it is a very fun way to do fantasy baseball. And you can keep doing it in the season if you are worried about just the season starting, that you can't do any of that stuff. Don't worry. They have plenty of other contests you can do. Back to tonight, we have just the crew, just the foursome here. We've got Elsie, we've got Marty Party, we've got Doc. Elsie, I have to say, I played my first bit of basketball today, probably for the first time in at least maybe 6 to 8 months at least. I played for about 90 minutes today, and I am exhausted. I'm sore, and I'm like, I didn't realize how feeling old I feel so old. This was nothing for me before, and then this is what you go through every week. You punish yourself.
Basketball is an equalizer. You get out there, the first game you're out there, you feel like you're going to throw up. And then the second game, you're starting to get a little bit warm. And then by like game 3 or 4, then you're just your body's just accepted that it's getting beat up today. And it's forgetting about the pain until after you stop. And then you stop and your joints they all stiffen up. And you start to walk out to your car and your legs can only shuffle, it's so much fun. I can't wait. I'm playing.
I can't relate to this. I'm sorry.
Dude, I can tell Art Moonlight as the Woody Harrelson character. He's the white dude, they pick him up randomly and he just comes in, shoots threes, nails everything.
He's got the Woody Harrelson hat. He's got the hat too.
He's got the hat, the goofy hat on.
That's why I do it. That's why I do it. I got a lot of cash up here to bet when the game gets tight.
That's right. I will say though, I was very surprised with how I played today in terms of just I was like, for having not picked up a basketball in over half a year, and I was never amazing at basketball, but I was like I'm playing pretty good. It's just some of those things you play long enough, some of the skills don't leave you. We also, of course, have the true love here in Marty Party, or you could say Love is Blind, because that's the show that me and Marty like to. We both gossip about together. He's ahead of me though, watching the show. Marty Party, what's new in your world?
Well, as you already said, Love is Blind season 4. It's dramatic. It's been great, but I'm happy. It's me. It's you. We got Art. We got Doc. It's just the crew here, and the last show before the season starts. Man, this is effing awesome. I'm super pumped.
Yeah, it's the eve of the eve of opening day as it is right now. And Doc is definitely pumped because he already talked about going to an Orioles game next week. So he's already in baseball mode.
Oh, yeah. Starting out right away. I think I went to 17, 18 games last year. Going to see if I can break it this year. So got to start by going to game 1.
That's right.
It's crazy. The tickets are sold out, and the lowest price you can get for an Orioles game is $81.
Interesting. Those are on the up and up, and now Eric's on the bandwagon wagon.
Nobody laughed at that, David.
I thought it was pretty good.
You're the least funny one on this pod.
I thought that was pretty funny. I thought that was good. Because
David, Marty laughed at my jokes, not at yours.
We talked about on the last show how much they used to be a Mets fan and then a Nats fan and now an Orioles.
I was a Mets fan for a month when MVP came. When MVP baseball came out in the 3rd grade.
Eric, you're a lot of things, but you're not a liar. Let's be honest. Let's be honest with each other here. You were a Mets fan.
Nats came to town.
You were a Mets fan longer than that.
We like
And you were a
fantasy
Nats fan.
baseball. We're fantasy baseball guys first. Okay, let's just say
Okay.
that.
Very, very good compromise there. And as fantasy baseball guys, we are going to talk about one of our favorite episodes to do every single year. It is the Triple Play Fantasy MySpace Top 8. And it is our clever way of saying it is our My Guys episode. It's planting our flags on players that if you listen to whichever one of us you like the best, these are the guys that we're telling you to draft. Whether it's just we have a lot of,
who are those people?
I just was Googling MySpace top 8 images on Google, and this was the best one I could find.
I'm surprised you didn't put our faces on there.
Oh, bro, how much time do you think I have?
I don't know.
Just to make the thumbnail takes time, so just whatever I could find.
I told David I wanted the thumbnail to be the Tom's body, but like with him turning around with David's face on it.
I was thinking something like that.
I wanted to do all that, but time gets away from you pretty quickly. But it's our My Guys episode. So again, whether it's the amount of exposure we have just from drafts, maybe we didn't get as much exposure as we wanted just because they went so early in our drafts, but we still love these players and are still telling you to go draft these players, even if you have to jump multiple rounds to go get them. These are the ones we want you to remember going into the last few days before the season starts. And I think the best way to do it is we have 32 players to talk about. And I don't believe we didn't go over who all our guys were to each other. So there could be a chance that there might be a repeat, I think. But what I think we should do is we'll go through our hitters first. Each of us we'll go hitter, go all around, and then do 4 hitters, do 4 pitchers. Sound good? All right. Keep the analysis short, sweet to the point. We don't have to go for 5 minutes on every guy here, but kind of give the best points of why people should be drafting your guy. So, Doc, on your MySpace top 8, who is one of your hitters?
One of my hitters, and this is going to be an Eric guy moving forward, it's going to be Brendan Donovan. I think I've gotten him in every draft this year. Home league, triple players ball, TGFBI. It's, for me, a couple things. I think he's going to have an everyday spot in that Cardinals lineup, second base, third base, outfield eligible. I'm not worried about him losing playing time as much as I am with Tommy Edman or Dylan Carlson or Tyler O'Neill getting hurt. So once again, hitting in a great lineup from there. He's somebody that I think will contribute in a lot of categories in the Roto League. We'll give you between 5 to 10 stolen bases, a good average, between 10 to 15 home runs, and then good counting stats from there. And where I got him a lot of rounds was, 19th, 20th round. And at that point, I like having someone that I can just plug in at multiple positions. Like I said, second base, third base, outfield, but then you also do corner infield, middle infield. So basically everywhere but catcher he can play.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's going to actually lead off against righties this year for the Cardinals. How it's projected on roster resource. He is a left-handed bat. So that's obviously going to play really well against righties. Against lefties, I'm sure he'll be farther down in the order, but he is the projected starting second baseman right now for the St. Louis Cardinals. And I saw a bunch of videos trending on Twitter of him in a new improved batting stance. And I think that can't be understated. If you go and you change something with your batting stance, you can get your hands to the ball quicker. Maybe you're more upright. Maybe the bat's off your shoulder. There's so many things, the leg kicks or shortening a leg kick. So you could see the difference in his swing. He looks a lot more comfortable at the plate. Add in the fact that he's 4 position eligible on most sites. Like he's like first base, second base, third base, outfield, or something like that. There's no downside to drafting Brendan Donovan. He doesn't go super high. He's got multi-position eligibility, plays for a good offense, and he could be leading off for them against righties. So, Doc, he definitely is somebody I could have put as my guy, but I know you talked about him a lot. So
he walks at a great clip too, and that's what you're going to want from a leadoff in the 93rd percentile for that. Brendan
Donovan's a good way to start this show. He needs to be on your radar if he's not already. Marty Party, who's your first one?
It's going to be Rowdy Tellez. So he's one of those guys that I didn't really realize was one of my MySpace top 8 guys until the dust settles from drafting, and I have him on 6 out of 8 teams. So he definitely is one of those guys. Last year he was on people's radars, but like last year hit 35 home runs. This year, he's still hitting in a great hitter's park in Milwaukee. ATC projections have him batting 246 with 29 homers, 81 RBIs. I mean, he absolutely crushes the ball. 88th percentile in barrel percentage, 98th percentile in max exit velocity, and he walks at a good clip as well, like our last guy. 77th percentile in walk percentage. So Rowdy Tellez, I love where I'm getting him. Unfortunately, he has skyrocketed up the board. I think at one point when I was getting him, like in the fall, I was getting him as like the 16th first baseman off the board. Now he's the 11th. So the helium has kicked in, but I was there and I got him before all that. So Rowdy Tellez, baby.
Advantage of drafting early, 30 home run power. He's going to be a big part of the Milwaukee Brewers offense this year. And I feel like one of the few legit power targets that you can get in the middle part of your draft that has that type of upside in that category.
And he's not going to absolutely kill your batting average either. I mean, they got him for ATC has him for 246. I mean, that's pretty good.
StatCast page is a nice, beautiful shade of red on most of his categories there. And definitely can do it with the stick. 35 home runs last season, only a 219 average. But Marty mentioned again, the expected stats could definitely show that that's not necessarily exactly how it should have been. His expected batting average last year was a 252. So room for improvement in there. I'm very excited for Rowdy Tellez. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's an art guy too. And I've not looked at a list, but I know Art loves Rowdy Tellez.
I do love Rowdy, and I could almost put any one of those power hitting first basemen that go in that range as like a member of my Myspace top 8 right this year, because like if I come out of a draft and I don't get Tellez or Rizzo or Christian Walker or Ryan Mountcastle, one of those guys, I'll feel like I screwed up my draft somehow, because that's such a good source of power. That segues me into the first guy I want to bring up. Goes around that range, great source of power, scarce position. Huner Renfroe is a guy who I'm getting on a lot of my teams this year. He's going around pick 150, 33rd outfielder off the board. I think what you're getting with him is a solid batting average. He's hit over 250 each of the last 2 seasons, and he gives you solid power, 29 and 31 home runs. The Angel Stadium is a pretty good home run stadium. I like that entire offense. I think that Ohtani, Trout, Taylor Ward, Renfroe, I like Rengifo. I like Drury to have a good season. I think they have a lot of potential there. And I think, and hopefully Rendon, that with this offense coming up, I think Renfroe is going to be a big part of that. There's going to be a lot of home runs hit out there. I got him on a lot of teams. Comes really nice, like in the flow of a draft. Need power, need an outfielder. Renfroe's there all the time.
All right. Huner Renfroe is another great power target in that range. And you think he gets a lot of playing time with Boston?
What?
Do you think he gets a lot of playing time with Boston?
Renfroe? Renfroe's on the Angels, man.
What? I think I've made this mistake.
I think I've
done
actually.
It twice.
He used to be on the Sox.
It was with Justin Mason. I think I did
amateur hour.
I know. I don't know why I keep.
He played too much basketball. He's dehydrated.
Yeah. I guess but I didn't play basketball last time. I think I'm just an idiot. So
it's a brain tick.
Go ahead, Els. Yeah. You think he'll get everyday playing time with the Angels?
Yeah, he has a good glove. He's a good wheels. He gets to a lot of balls. So I think he's a good outfielder. They have him. They have Ward. Who's going to be their third outfielder coming up? I think his spot is pretty solid, especially with that good batting average and the power. But I have him about 550 plate appearances, and that's all he needs to get to that 28, 30 home runs. And with that offense, like I said, they could be racking up more runs than his last few offenses he's been on, especially last year's Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. And Art, to answer your question with the Angels, who could be starting for them in the outfield, the other guys, Taylor Ward, you already said, Mike Trout. And then,
of course,
yeah. I mean, to be fair, he was in the top of my head either. That Huner Renfroe starting at right field.
I thought you were talking about Brett Phillips. He's their fourth outfielder.
Yeah, Brett Phillips being their fourth outfielder seems like he has a good path. And obviously, we have no idea what Joe Adell is going to be at this point. He seems like a quad A player. Just needs a fresh start.
Shohei play in the outfield at all?
No, he's always just DHs now. He doesn't
only
play
on
any
best
outfield.
ball leagues.
Yeah,
is he an outfielder?
Is anybody else interested that why Reid Detmers is number 4 on the starting pitching depth chart? He's behind Shohei, obviously, Patrick Sandoval,
Tyler
Anderson, and Reid Detmers. I would put him over Tyler Anderson.
Well, they invested more money in Tyler Anderson. That's why.
I think that's money talks, but not necessarily the best talent there to be the 3 starter. My first guy, I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go to start out.
And Huner Renfroe plays for the Raiders.
He does play for the Raiders. I feel like I would have been less stupid if I had said that comment, because at least it's the same name. But yeah, so my first guy, this is my absolutely favorite hitter this year. And that is Corey Seager of the Texas Rangers. You could put a futures bet in, Eric, about him leading the American League in hits this year. You could put a futures bet in. I wouldn't rule against. I wouldn't say it's a bad bet.
Okay.
You could convince me that Corey Seager could be the AL MVP, and I would not be shocked this year. And I'm not any of the guys that we mentioned. I'll also preface that if you're deep in the industry, not like these guys are secrets. A lot of people talk up these guys too, but there are certain things that what I see in them, at least for my guys, that like I really do believe in certain things that are happening. And same with talking about Corey Seager. He lost the most hits out of any player in baseball last year with the shift. He was a heavy pull player, and he lost out. It was like 80 something hits, and his expected batting average is basically 60 points higher than his actual batting average. But how has he responded in spring training since the shift restrictions were put into place? Well, he had 52 plate appearances. He hit 467, 510, 756 slash. He's had 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 11 runs, 5 walks to 7 strikeouts, a 1264 OPS. He just literally fit right into the narrative that this guy was going to smash this year once you took away the full on shift and added the restrictions in there. And you combine that with the fact, again, he's just incredibly talented. Maybe in best case scenario, he's a 30 home run bat, but I do think 30 home runs is right in his wheelhouse of what he can get to. He's going to hit in the middle of an improving Texas lineup, and just overall just does a bunch of things really, really well. Corey Seager's one of the best line drive hitters in baseball, and I think he is going to be an absolute stud this year. And I put my money where my mouth was, because I took him in the second round of our home league last night.
It was
I knew he wasn't going to come back to me. If I didn't take him on the 2-3 turn, there was no chance he was going to get back to me. So I took him. And that's one of the things you're talking about with my guys, is you make sure you grab them when you can. So Corey Seager is my guy. Doc, your second one.
We're going hitter or pitcher?
We're going to do all hitters first, and then we'll go all pitchers.
Gotcha. So my second one is Jose Abreu. And this is somebody that at the beginning of draft season, when we did the 50-round draft with Justin Mason and Sporer in FPAS, was right near 100. And even ESPN, whose rankings are a little bit whack, had him at 87 yesterday. Mm-hmm. And just talking about putting him in a great Houston lineup, I think somebody that has a little bit of motivation, especially a lot of people, I think, kind of wrote him out initially. He's just been consistent and durable. 157 games last year, 152 the year before that, all 60 in the shortened season, 159 the year before that. Now, I know the power numbers went down. He only had 15 last year, but he actually had the best average. He's had one of the best averages at 304. Plenty of counting stats in that Houston lineup, and especially in a points league. Like, he isn't going to give you any stolen bases, but he's going to give you good average, somebody that doesn't strike out a lot. Now, albeit he doesn't walk a lot either, but just somebody that I think recency bias has them kind of fading. And 36, a lot of people might be writing him off. But you look at Nelson Cruz, who even produced till age 39, like age 36 for a hitter, especially if his caliber isn't necessarily a death wish. So I got a lot of shares of him this year, and I'm very, very happy about it.
I mean, Doc, he was on my guys list earlier this offseason. And the only reason I took him off is because his ADP jumped so high that I just felt like he wasn't as much of a sneaky value anymore. And because you were right, like he was going like a round pick like 110, and Vinny Pasquantino was going at like in the high 80s. And I was like, I will wait 30 picks for Jose Abreu. Are you kidding me? 16% strikeout rate last year. Still has played in a ton of games every single year. I have a bunch of Jose Abreu stats that I've said before on this show. If you guys want to go back to our first baseman preview, so I won't repeat everything here now. But Jose Abreu is going to produce a lot in that Houston lineup, like you said, Doc. And again, I think he's an absolute stud and can see why you'd pick him as my guy. Marty, who's your next one?
Another Brewer, Mr. Christian Yelich. I'm still believing in him, baby. This year, hitting top of the Brewers lineup. Everyone points to his injuries, and say, how are you going to get 120 games out of him? Last year, he played 154 games, so it's not impossible. His back doesn't, absolutely destroy him for the entire season. So it's possible he can stay around that 150 game mark. ATC projections have him for 16 home runs and 17 steals. So where he's going, that's great. And max exit velocity last year, 99th percentile. His walk percentage is in the 94th percentile. Hitting at the top of the Brewers lineup with the boppers behind him. Give me Christian Yelich all day, baby.
He was also on a podcast and talked about that this is the best he's felt in the last 4 years. Just saying his back feels like it's healed up a lot, and he just knows his body a lot better. And he talked about really starting to mess up when he did the home run derby a few years ago and trying to push through it. And it continued into the All-Star game when he wanted to make sure he got an at-bat in, just so he could say he led off in the All-Star game. And, it goes into detail about it. It just makes you more optimistic of what could come this year for him. And he's
Marty, let me ask you, because we've seen the MVP Christian Yelich and we've seen the Christian Yelich of the last couple of years.
Yep.
What do you envision his stat line being?
I have him around that 150 game mark. I'm going to say 18 home runs, 17 stolen bases, batting 253. I'm going to go 99 runs and 61 RBI.
That's fair.
Then he says over or under 2 weeks until he gets injured.
He played 154 games.
I'm going, I think second week of May is when he gets hurt.
I'll go over too. I don't think he gets hurt right away. I did draft him last night.
Sorry,
too.
Christian. I didn't know I was bringing you up like this. Hopefully you don't listen to the show. He already has 3 home runs in spring training.
I do. I mean, he's worth the investment at where he's going. No doubt. Based off if he could even be 75% of the player he used to be.
He just burned everybody for those 2 years after that MVP season. Everyone's just really upset. I understand that.
Art, who's the next hitter on your list?
Someone that my most owned catcher is a person who I think just needs some health, and that's Danny Jansen.
Mm-hmm.
When he's played over the last few seasons, he's had a decent batting average and a lot of power. Last season, especially, he hit over 260 with 15 home runs, missed a couple months of the season. Just need to get some health. He's going as the 15th catcher, 204th pick off the board on average in the main event. I think that's a really good price for who he is, especially you look going up, like Keibert Ruiz is going ahead of him. He doesn't have nearly the power that Jansen has. You have someone going ahead of him, big dumper, Cal Raleigh. He has a lot of power, but he has a lot of batting average risk, whereas I feel like Jansen's batting average is pretty solidly better than that, while if he stays healthy, has the same sort of power output, mid-20s home runs. I think he could get there. Jansen is someone who I have on most of my teams just because I think I thought of him as one of the best values in the drafted catcher for this entire draft season. His price never really went up that much. All he needs to do is stay healthy, and he's going to earn that.
Question in the chat from Urgent. He says, does anyone like Bobby Witt Jr.? Bobby Witt, I mean, we know how much I had a man crush on Bobby Witt last year. He's probably still my...
Is he messing with us?
No, I don't... Is he messing with us?
I mean, of course he is, David.
It's a pretty astute thing if he's made me not realize that he remembered that. I'm going to pretend that this is actually a real question, just in case he's actually curious. Bobby Witt, it's in Roto leagues, is still a top 15 player, in my opinion.
Without a doubt. And we have no idea what his ceiling is. Like,
yeah,
we just don't.
Points leagues, it's a little harder because right now his plate discipline makes it a little bit harder to draft him in points leagues. In the top, like, I would probably take him in the 3rd round in a points league. I would take him in the 1st round in a Roto league. But Bobby Witt is a freaking stud. He's the Patrick Mahomes of baseball. Don't ever forget that. That's the first time we brought it up this year, I think. We didn't do that. We haven't done it this year. My next player.
I feel like J-Rod has to be the Patrick Mahomes of baseball.
I mean, technically, yes, he is.
Okay.
But we didn't do that. We didn't say it this year. I had to say it once before the season started. My next player, Oscar Gonzalez. I always call him the Walmart version of your favorite outfielder. A 296, 327, 461 hitter last year, 11 homers and 43 RBIs, a 70-88 OPS in 91 games. Struck out in under 20% of his at-bats at the major league level last season, and 14% of his at-bats in 41 games at AAA, which is pretty interesting that he strikes out that little, but he was in the 37th percentile in whiff percentage and the 1st percentile in chase rate. I think when it comes down to it, he's going to swing at bad pitches, but he still is able to consistently not strike out and put the ball into play. And if you're going to swing at bad pitches, but at least you're not going to strike out, I'm okay with that. Steamer projects him for a 275 average, 21 homers and 73 RBIs. And he, to me, is like, nobody talks about him, but he hits the ball so incredibly hard. He's got one of the highest barrel percentages and just how exit velocities, how hard he hits the ball. He's like he's not Vlad Guerrero, obviously, but it just reminds me of somebody that's like, I'll swing at bad pitches, and I won't strike out a ton. And when I make contact, I'm gonna crush the ball. It's like, so it's, you see the Miguel Sano's out there that crush the ball, but they strike out a ton. Oscar Gonzalez, to me, is a guy that's going to swing at bad pitches, but he's still going to be able to put the ball in play a lot. He's playing for an improving Guardians offense. So I really like Oscar Gonzalez. What's wrong with Walmart? Nothing's wrong with Walmart.
That's where I do my shopping.
That's where I do my shopping too. I'm using Walmart as the underappreciated.
Everything is wrong with Walmart. I'll gladly say that.
Whoa.
Well, if we're talking corporate, yes. If we're talking my shopping experience, no.
David doesn't care about local economies. It's all about him saving 15 cents.
Well, I will say they need to hire more checkout people. They could provide.
I will say if they're charging $10 a box for Magic Spoon cereal, they have another thing coming.
Magic Spoon. I mean, shout out to him.
Are you not even buying Lucky Charms at this point?
Me?
Yeah.
I never bought Lucky Charms.
Well, isn't Magic Spoon cereal the Walmart version of Lucky Charms?
No, you never heard of Magic Spoon?
No.
That's that boozy cereal that, like, it's good for you.
They literally they're sponsors for like all the big podcasts.
I didn't know that.
Not ours though. So
yeah, not ours yet.
We're not giving you any airtime.
They ignored my emails to them. But it's like the healthy, like protein, like 10 grams of protein per serving, like less than 200 calories, no sugar. Look when you go next time to Walmart, they'll have them. It's $10 a box. It's insane. I bought like 3 of them just to try them.
Were they
just
a smash?
To try them, so I bought 3 boxes.
Well, there's like 6 flavors. There's a bunch of different flavors.
Wow,
so I bought
I didn't know
3
this.
flavors.
This is why I would say this is why David's so big in the gambling, so he can purchase his $10 box of cereal.
We were talking about cereal last week.
True.
And then I think 3 checkouts open at 10 a.m.
Facts. I've never related to something.
We were gonna do our wake and rake and have just bowls of cereal.
I thought we were doing that next Thursday morning.
I can't. I'll be working. Well, no, it'd be this Thursday because it's opening day.
All right, I'm down.
I can't, but it would have been a good idea. Let's go to the third hitter before we keep going too much off topic here, Doc. Who's your third hitter?
So for me, it's Nick Castellanos. This was a guy I really liked prior to the Rhys Hoskins injury. And obviously him being out for the season is a little bit of a damper. Not that Hoskins was going to take any playing time for him because Castellanos was slotted into an everyday role. But when you look, he actually started off last season pretty well. And in April, he hit 300, 3 home runs, 12 RBIs, and an 849 OPS. Then he got plunked on the right wrist, which they called a contusion, but he actually fractured the same wrist in 2021. And that's kind of what plagued him a little bit. And looking more into it, he had a kid mid-season, first year of a 5-year, 100. Marty's shaking his head. He doesn't know what athletes go through. They're humans too.
How dare he have a kid in the middle of my fantasy baseball season?
Exactly. So that middle stretch of the season when people are really involved in their team, he was awful. But when you look, especially after the Phillies fired Joe Girardi and brought in Rob Thompson, hit 288 in the second half, looked like a completely revamped player in the playoffs. And keep in mind, this is a guy that had played for the Reds and the Tigers, 2 losing organizations. Sorry, Marty. So I think playing in that World Series gave him probably a little bit more motivation. The first year of a contract's always tough, especially in Philly. And as he put, he had a lot of shit going on. So I think second year is going to be easy for him. And you're getting a guy that's hit 25 plus home runs in 3 seasons at a discount.
So Doc, do you think what's his most likely outcome for you in terms of the numbers?
So numbers wise, I'm going to say he hits 257 with 27 home runs, 89 RBIs, 77 runs.
Oh, you are a big Nick Castellanos bounce back guy.
I am.
He looked pretty awful in the playoffs, so let's hope that was just a blip there.
Don't forget he made two game-saving catches.
Yeah, but defense doesn't do anything for fantasy.
Defense buys you playing time, though.
We'll see. Marty?
I asked Vaughn Grissom about that.
I don't know if it was just defense why he got sent down. Marty, who's your third hitter?
Another Brewer, baby, Willy Adames. I didn't even realize that.
You have 3 Brewers?
I didn't even realize it until because when I did it, I sent Art my list earlier, and he didn't even point it out to me. So because I call them like pitchers and hitters, but I realize all my hitters are almost all my hitters are Brewers. So Willy Adames, 31 home runs last year, 8 stolen bases. He barrels the crap out of the ball, and he was one of those guys that I could wait on shortstop if I didn't get one of those top guys. I could wait until like the 8th, 9th, 10th round and still get him. So like in a 15-team league, I think I have him in 3 or 4 leagues. Think he can get you 28 home runs around there, 5 to 7, maybe 10 stolen bases with the new rules. Mm-hmm. And in that park, I absolutely love. I don't know the name of where the Brewers play anymore, but where they do play, it's great. And he's going to be hitting. Where's he at in that lineup? Second. So it's Yelich, Adames, Tellez. So my 3 boys back to back.
Wow. I mean, there is a lot to like about the Adames family. 31 homers last year, 98 RBIs, like you talked about, 238 batting average with the, about the expected batting average the same, but the strikeouts not too astronomically high, 26.9%. Could be a little bit better, but showed improvement from the previous 2 seasons. Walk rate hovers near double digits. I mean, there's a lot of tools there to like, and the Brewers definitely aren't going to take his bat out of the lineup because they don't have a ton of great hitting. They have Rowdy Tellez. They have him. Obviously, hope we can get Yelich to bounce back. I'm really excited for their younger players in the outfield, which I don't think we'll be talking about on the show. Garrett Mitchell, Sal Frelick, both of those guys I think are going to make marks in the outfield this season. Joey Weimer also, who just was sent down to minor league camp, but they all play outfield.
Garrett Mitchell, 4 home runs this spring, batting 303 and 33 at bats. Looking pretty good. UCLA Bruin represent. Oh yeah, right. And why'd you say Adames family?
Are you trying to slip a nickname past us?
Yeah, I did. I was.
I get it. Okay. Da-na-na-na.
The Willy Adames family.
And you can say the Willy Adames family is Rowdy Tellez, Yelich, and him.
Because it's 3 Brewers. You're 3. Really love that. Real quick,
do you redeem yourself from the Huner Renfroe comment earlier?
Thank you.
Do we think Luke Voigt's going to be anything for the Brewers? Has anyone thought about that?
He's going to be a streamer, I feel like.
I want to double check. I'm pretty sure I saw in MLB trade rumors that he was cut or they granted him his release or something.
No, he just signed with the Brewers. He's got cut again?
Let me hold on. Let me double check. I could have misread that because I read it like on my lunch break, like half read it. It was like the top story on there. This is great podcasting.
This is good.
They definitely there was a post.
Struggle with us.
they made a post. There's been so many news today because it's like now I keep scrolling down to find it.
No, he crushed a 447-foot home run today.
Yeah, they signed him to. I think David, I
Guaranteed
think you're
$2
getting
million.
him confused that they signed him to the 1-year deal and designated Castellanos.
Yeah, Hira. That's who they did.
Okay, that's what it was then. Okay, Brewers signed Luke Voigt to 1-year deal, designate Yessen here, and Bryce Durang makes roster, who could throw a wrench into the Adames family here because I believe he's a shortstop too, isn't he?
Who?
Bryce Durang.
Oh, I'm not worried about that. No, Adames he ain't going nowhere.
Bryce Durang is a good stolen base target, like in a DC 50. Because the Brewers like him, I know a lot, and he has a lot of stolen base upside. The Brewers just have a ton of great prospects, very interesting, and a lot of them I think are going to contribute this year. He's a top 100 prospect by both Baseball America and MLB.com's prospects, so just keep an eye on him there. LC, your next hitter is?
I'm going to go with Andrew Vaughn as the next guy I want to bring up. I was thinking about other Brewers we could talk about just to solidify the Milwaukee fan base. We want to talk up the Brewers. I mean, I like other Brewers, but I also like Andrew Vaughn a lot. I've been talking up Andrew Vaughn all off season. I think he's at a point in his career when he's going to start to turn his experience into gains on the field. He's had about 1,000 plate appearances. And you can't underestimate how much he's going to benefit from having a new approach from the manager position for him. First base all the time, or DH. He little bit concerned. He just had a back injury. Just missed about a week of spring with a back injury, but he's back now. No pun intended. Played today. Someone I've been on all off season. I really think that this is the year he explodes. Those runs and RBI totals go way up. The power is gonna jump up. Vaughn, someone I've been on.
And we talked about before with the White Sox how their overall approach last year to just basically make contact and not worry about power. He led all of the Chicago White Sox last year with 17 home runs. So a new coaching staff in place maybe allows them to hit for power again, maybe take some more strikeouts, but he's going to also be entrenched at first base. It seems like they're not going to put him out in the outfield anymore, and that should hopefully help him just at the plate too. So Andrew Vaughn is definitely somebody that's very intriguing, and I drafted last night. I think he's a good candidate for this specific show, as well as the player that I think compares to him a lot, and what I think the production will be for my pick in Jose Miranda, who you can get as a third baseman / first baseman. Andrew Vaughn is a first baseman / outfield, so both give you multi-position eligibility here. But the third base qualification is huge because it is very shallow this year. 251 in the first half for Jose Miranda, 280 in the second half. After his first month in the bigs, he didn't hit below 259 in any single month. He's a great contact hitter, and he grew as the season went on. I do think he's going to be the best overall hitter in the Twins lineup this season. I don't think Buxton stays healthy enough to be relevant. And I think Carlos Correa is just going to be kind of hot and cold. I think Miranda is going to be the consistent 4 or 5 middle of the order bat that they need. And we talked about all off season when his name's come up multiple times that he hit 241 and 0-2 counts last year, which is one of the best marks in baseball. So he's really good with hitting with 2 strikes and struck out under 20% as a rookie. And he's just got so many great things going for him as long as the injury isn't a problem. I know he was kind of a little banged up going into the season, but I think he'll be okay. So Jose Miranda definitely also on this list. Let's quickly go through our fourth hitter, and then we'll start tacking some pitching. Doc, your first or your last hitter would be who?
It's going to be JD Martinez. And the one knock on I have for him is he's only utility eligible in NFBC and ESPN. So hopefully he plays a little bit of outfield and gains some eligibility there. Sometimes players just need a new change of scenery. And I know Boston is viewed as a historic organization, but when you look at how they've treated players, especially in their negotiations the last few seasons, you can just feel like there's kind of a cloud hanging over them. And I think him being reunited with Mookie Betts and their hitting coach is going to serve him well. And when you look at some of the metrics last year: 87th percentile in X slug, 78th percentile max EV, 87% in barrel percentage. He's going to get a lot of counting stats. He's projected to hit 5th according to Roster Resource, and not as stacked as before Dodgers lineup. But when you look at the people above him, it's Mookie Betts, it's Freddie Freeman, it's Max Muncy 4, and Will Smith 3. Guys that generally have a good on-base percentage. So I think a lot of counting stats for him there. I think if there's anywhere that he could resurge the last couple of years of his career, it's going to be the Dodgers. And I don't think he has that Dodger tax draft that you see a lot of guys have.
The only thing it sucks is he's just DH eligible, so it's just hard when you fit him in your lineup.
I like when I've realized this is the third time I've talked about a player, and the initial point that I talk about, David then just talks about it again to like wrap it up in a bow, like I didn't just say it.
It's what is it like? It's like when you get a loaf of bread and there's the end pieces. I'm just giving you the other end piece, even though it's like the same thing. It's like the end pieces on both sides.
The worst part of the bread.
That's right. It's the worst part of your discussion at the end.
You're choosing to reiterate the worst part then.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you I don't have any JD Martinez this year. I really do think he is it's one of the things the age is really starting to catch up with you. In baseball, I feel like age is probably the biggest detriment, because if your hand-eye coordination is going down, it takes you an extra quarter of a second to catch up to a pitch, and you have to start swinging earlier. It can go pretty quick. I mean, very
David,
nervous.
Besides his power going down, like he hit 274 last year, 286 the year before that. I know the 2020 season when he didn't have access.
You're telling me he hit 286, and then last year he hit 274. So this year it's probably
above that league average.
So it's probably going to go down again to like in the 250s with no power.
Okay, it's still above league average, by the way.
Well, I was going to say, do you think with a veteran of his stature, do you think actually being part of a win now team is going to help?
I don't really. I mean, I think he's good for the clubhouse, but I don't really know if it's going to necessarily always translate to bat. Like I'm thinking, best case scenario is like a Justin Turner type of thing where there's like not a lot of power there, but he's making contact. He gets a lot of RBIs because he's hitting 6th or 7th in the lineup and is driving in runs. But I don't personally. I'll wear it if I'm wrong, but I don't think he's going to be fantasy relevant this year.
David,
for 12 team leagues. For 12 team leagues. 12 team leagues. Let me specify that. 15 team leagues, I think he'll be rosterable.
How old do you think JD Martinez is?
34.
JD Martinez is 35. Do you know how many home runs Justin Turner had in his age 36 season?
19.
27.
But if anybody in the comments has an opinion on it, I don't think JD Martinez is relevant anything 12 teams or less, 15 team leagues and anything bigger than that. Sure.
Can you give me a projection? What do you got for him?
This is the projection show.
If we come in that, I'm going to say 256 with how many home runs did he have last year?
He had, let's pull this up, 16.
Arjun. That's funny.
Tony's taking notes on not to draft JD Martinez.
He's a Dodger fan. He might be taking.
I wouldn't be caught with JD Martinez on any of my. Arjun's a smart guy.
He's a funny guy. So batting 256, how many home runs? What do you got him for?
He had 16 last year.
All right, he's going to bat 256 with 11 home runs.
Wow.
11 home runs.
You hate him. This is great.
And 61 RBIs.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
So are you going to hand him his slip to go back to the minors?
I'm going to hand him his retirement check because he's just going to retire. He ain't going to the minors.
If there was a prop for JD Martinez home runs, they would put his life savings on it. Jeez.
Well, first of all, I'm not going to say I'm that confident. I'm just that's my. I think he's slowly just degenerating before our eyes. Or to use your last guy.
Who's the next Brewer up? No,
Did I say degenerating? Did I say I meant deteriorating? I don't think that.
I let that one roll. This is the guy who I grabbed at the end of mini drafts just in case. Anthony Volpe, the next Derek Jeter, baby. Like he's not someone I've touted throughout our shows leading up to the year, but when I look back at the teams I've drafted, he's on most of them. So now that's looking really good. But I'm not saying that I knew he was going to be there day one. I thought maybe June he'll come up, maybe get you 10 home runs, maybe 10 stolen bases, but it looks like it'd even be better than that. Spring training, he's hit the cover off the ball. Over his 55 at bats, he has 3 home runs, 6 doubles, slashing 309, 415, 618, and he's leading the team in stolen bases. So a Yankees team that is just a bunch of guys that no one runs on that team. So this is going to really help them, from an athletic perspective. I'm excited just to see him play defense. I'm giving him the next Derek Jeter tag, and I'm excited for his season, man. It's going to be cool.
And I think it's a really important thing to point out too, that maybe we necessarily weren't touting these guys for months, but we can get in on these guys and make sure that he's on a lot of our teams. And Anthony Volpe is a great example. He's going now on NFBC. He's going like in the top 120 picks.
And I got him in the 28th round of our triple players ball. And what was that? Like 6 weeks ago? 2 months ago we did that draft?
Beginning of February. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's crazy just how much, as time goes along, the player values shift dramatically. And I'll bring up a pitcher that it's a very similar thing for me, Marty. I have a lot of exposure to them, but I wasn't in on them early. I got out on them pretty late, but it's just about who you're going to, trust and believe in what you're seeing, even if it's later on. So Anthony Volpe is a good call there. LC, who is your last hitter?
Got a few options here. I think I'm going to go. One of my most drafted guys is Dansby Swanson. I think it's a homer pick. It's our big signing, and it came off of a career year. But where he's been going in the draft, he's going as the 12th shortstop, going around pick 96. You can't really go wrong, guy who's committed to steals, who has good power, who plays every day, and is going to be hitting in a good spot in a pretty decent lineup. I think with what they paid him, his spot in that lineup is always going to be good, and I think he's going to produce. He's shown for the past 3 or 4 seasons a solid batting average, and the counting stats have been there. So Dansby, I think, is going to return that draft value, and a lot of people think his first year under a big contract is a bad thing. It doesn't necessarily mean. Not every person has a rough first year in a contract. I think that this Cubs team I think he's going to have a good year for his first year with the Cubs. It doesn't have to be as good as last season to return solid value for that draft pick.
Do you think he regresses from what we saw in his contract year last year? 25 home runs, 96 RBIs, 18 steals, 277 average?
Well, it's tough to say with the steals. I think the steals were bumped up a little bit last year. I don't think the power was overly bumped up last year because he's been in his mid-20s the last couple seasons. I think with the plate appearances that he gets, he plays every day. He may not show the same commitment to getting stolen bases that he did last season when it was his most steals in a season, of course, in his walk year. But I think with the fact that he has always shown sort of a propensity to take off, he's had close to double-digit steals every year of his career. I think you can kind of say his floor in steals is pretty good. It's like about 9 or 10, which is solid.
He's in the middle of a very deep position. You can wait on him later in your drafts. If you don't take Trey Turner or Francisco Lindor or, Fernando Tatis or any of these guys that are shortstop eligible early on, you can wait for him and he should be a good value where he's going. We'll close out the hitters here real quick. Taylor Ward. And this used to be Jose Abreu, but I thought his value got too good to include at least for myself personally here. Taylor Ward is still outside the top 100 picks, and he definitely got a lot of helium as the off season went along. Not really a bargain anymore, but he was hitting 392 with 5 home runs and 13 RBIs in April, 11 walks to 12 strikeouts, 1284 OPS. Then in May, he crashed into a wall and pretty much was not the same hitter after that. So going up into that point, 375 with 9 homers and 23 RBIs. After May 20th, when that happened, he slashed 219 with just 8 home runs and 24 RBIs and 311 plate appearances, but still showed he was able to draw walks and had the same eye at the plate. But he really seemed like towards the end of the season, he really started finding his groove again, which could happen if you crash into a wall and you need a little bit of time to kind of get back to the way you were swinging the bat. He hit 345 in August and September, 397 OBP, 575 slug with 6 homers and 18 RBIs. I think the first and the end of the year is a little closer to what we could see from Taylor Ward this season. Maybe not necessarily him being like a top 5 outfielder like he was at that time, but I think he very much could be somebody. You can get him as like your 3rd outfielder right now, and I'm very comfortable with that. So Taylor Ward, I think, is very much due for a nice little bounce back this season. We're already at 50 minutes and we haven't done pitching, so we'll try to do pitching a little bit quicker here. Let's start it off this time. Let's go backwards. LC, give us your first pitcher.
Yeah, my first pitcher that I want to talk about is a guy who I've never been in on before this season, and that's Jesus Luzardo. I gotta try and get it on him this season. The upside is too good. The way he pitched in Miami towards the end, you see that strikeout potential. You see the health is there coming into the season. He just pitched well also for Venezuela in the World Baseball Classic. And we've been waiting on this guy for years. I think that he's a solid pitcher. I want to get a lot of pieces of him because if he gets that 140, 150 inning total, Luzardo could be a big breakout this year.
As long as he stays healthy. I think that's been a big question mark with him. Mysterious injuries, but definitely has the potential. Marty Party, your first pitcher is who?
Josiah Gray. I've talked about him enough all offseason. We're 25 years old, big prospect pedigree, projected to pitch 150 plus innings with 160 Ks. The Washington's defense literally could not be worse. So his ERA was over 5, but his xERA last year was 4.25. So where he's at, he's going to get you plenty of strikeouts. I'm hoping he can get his ERA close around that 4.0. And if he doesn't, you can just drop him. I mean, he's basically free, even in 15-team leagues.
Yeah, agreed there. Doc, your first pitcher is?
It's going to be one of my Seattle Mariners pitchers, and we had our home league yesterday, and David was surprised. I took 3 Mariners pitchers. So the first one has got to be Luis Castillo, my pick to win the AL Cy Young. I think finally playing in a favorable ballpark. Seattle has, by metrics from Bleacher Report, the most hitter-friendly ballpark in the American League, second in all of baseball. It's going to finally get, hopefully, get some run support from the Seattle offense as well. It gets to face the Athletics a decent amount. But this is something that I kind of like that I think Seattle is going to push him is he signed a 5-year, about $100 million extension last offseason. And if he has any UCL-related injury where he misses at least 135 games in that span, his last year becomes a $5 million player option. So to me, that signifies, and he hasn't had a significant one yet, that Seattle is going to push him, that they're not going to give him rest in rotation. And this is a guy that was a consensus second, 3rd round pick a couple of years ago. And I think the factors are more favorable now.
What do you have him as your ranked as your what SP do you have him ranked as? He's my number 9 SP. Do you have him higher than that?
Yeah, I think I have him like 6 or 7.
Okay. Yeah, I know you've been touting him as your AL Cy Young pick. He definitely should have a nice season in Seattle. My first player is we kind of touched on it earlier, is somebody that I wasn't in on until we had Nick Pollock on this show. And yeah, listen to Nick Pollock for pitching, no duh. But I try to make sure that no matter who we have on the show, that you can build your own opinions on players, not just listen to certain people. And I think we all have done a really good job at that, as we all, are fantasy baseball analysts in a way, in the fact that we dive into the numbers. We all make our own claims on players and look into numbers. And when he brought up Reid Detmers, I looked a lot more into him, and there's just so many good things. And now it's Reid Detmers isn't a secret anymore either. And just from his start today, from his velocity increasing, four-seam fastball was averaging 96.7 today. That last year was 93.2. That's a 3.5 mile increase on his fastball. Slider last year averaged 85.9. That was 91.2, an over 5 mile per hour increase on his slider. Ladies and gentlemen, that is humongous changes. Those are gigantic. To have 3 miles per hour on your fastball and 5 miles per hour added on your slider, that's nuts. So basically, long story short, Reid Detmers, with that increased velocity and the way he started changing how he threw down the stretch, he was actually had just a barely over a 3 ERA down the stretch once he got called back up to the Angels towards the second half of the year. He's going to be a rock star as long as he stays healthy. That's, I think, the biggest question is that velocity increase. Can he stay healthy? And he's become a player, drafted him in TGFBI. I drafted him last night in our home league. Pretty sure I actually have him in like one other league too. And I'm only doing 6 this year. So I pretty much have him in 3 of my 6 leagues. He's become one of those guys that I try to get as my SP4. And I'm feeling really good about it. So Reid Detmers is somebody, if you're drafting today, tomorrow, Thursday, get some Reid Detmers on your team. Art, your second pitcher.
Yeah, I really like that Reid Detmers call out too, especially in the range where he's going. He seems to have upside. Another guy, a lot of upside, going a little bit after Reid. It's a man named Hayden Wisneski for my very own hometown Chicago Cubs. Got that 5th starter position, something I was hoping for, something that a couple months ago wasn't too certain. They started signing all these guys, and you thought, oh man, a lot of competition. But with a guy like Wisneski, you draft talent. You don't worry about where his spot is. He's going to get his turn. It turns out it's right at the beginning of the season. I think he has electric stuff. He's got some of the best stuff maybe the best stuff on the Cubs staff. That slider is very good. And he was able to, ever since, working on his legs, working on his lower body to increase the repeatability of his motion and the strength of his pitches with the Yankees. Something that the Cubs saw when they brought him, and one of the reasons why they brought him in, he's been fantastic. I think this is a year he has a really solid year for the Cubs. As one of their starting pitchers. And injuries might be there as they are for any pitcher, but if he stays healthy, I really like the production he's going to give.
Doc, that's one of your guys, I'm assuming too.
Yeah. And got to give credit when credit is due. He's somebody that I think Vinny had mentioned when we did who was our next, right after the season ended. We talked about who was the next Kyle Ryder, the Spencer Strider, the guy that comes out of nowhere. And it was Hayden Wisneski. And, just somebody whose ADP was very low that you didn't have to reach necessarily to get, that showed promise in his 6 starts at the end of last season. I've talked about him on previous shows. And somebody that I got right before David in our final couple rounds of our draft. And, David was feeling really good about his draft. And then I took that and then an Oscar Colas pick after that. And David was just deflated. And that's kind of what really bumped him in there, is just seeing David being disappointed after that, overshadowing a good draft that he thought he had.
I mean, I still had a really good draft. I just it's like I don't even know how I want to compare it, but
it's just the way it ended. David was feeling so good, loving the players he got. And then how did I forget that? And the recency bias crept in. And then David's smile started to fade a little bit.
Are you done?
Yeah, I don't have a poem for that. It was more just a story, but we'll get back to the poems next week.
Yeah, I mean, Hayden Wisneski, credit, like you said, where it's due. Vinny down on the farm 8 was on him before anybody else that I saw. And he definitely, that if there's a name and person you're touting as one, that's him and Hayden Wisneski over anybody else. We even got another comment on our YouTube channel about Vinny being a time traveler. He's definitely a really good analyst. And Wisneski's got great stuff. And I think he's the Cubs, like you said, the Cubs' 5th starter. Spring training has done nothing to sway the fact that he looked good. And he's going to be somebody that is a nice little sleeper this year. So good call for both you guys. Marty, who's your second pitcher?
Roasny Contreras for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think Hayden Wisneski's stuff plus is 105. Contreras is 107. The stuff's even filthier. So I'm really excited to see him this year. He's worked on his changeup. He's worked on his curveball to just better balance out, his arsenal. He's only 23 years old. He has no innings limit this year. I'm excited for him.
A Pittsburgh Pirate pitcher making the show. I didn't think he was going to get on here.
I did it against all odds. I did it, but no, I have him in almost every league.
Okay, fair enough. My next player, we talked about the Seattle Mariners, George Kirby, who was probably the other pitcher that I was not in on as early. I got in on him more in January, was the other pitchers I was more on in December. But George Kirby, breakout is coming this year, I think. And, last year from July on, a 2.92 ERA, a 3.39 ERA overall on the season, 133 strikeouts and 130 innings, only 22 walks. That's still the best mind-boggling thing. His control is ridiculous. 8 scoreless innings in the playoffs. And just so a little factoid here, there were 121 pitchers who threw more than 600 four-seam fastballs last year in the league. George Kirby fastball had the third lowest run value per 100 pitches, behind only Nestor Cortez and Luis Castillo. And one of the reasons I really like him is not only has he been working on a new changeup, but he's also been working on a split change that he's basically using more to help like a little more deceptive. You can't really pick it up coming out of his hand. And the early results in spring training have been fantastic. I think just his last start, it was like 5 innings and 9 strikeouts. I think the strikeout upside was the biggest thing missing in his profile because his control is outrageous. And I've been comparing it to the Shane Bieber leap that we saw, where Shane Bieber kind of came up and you knew he was going to have really good control, but maybe be too much around the plate. The strikeouts wouldn't be there. And then all of a sudden the next year, he's one of the best strikeout pitchers in baseball. And I think that's what's coming for George Kirby here. And I have a lot of George Kirby, and Eric took him from me last night. And the fact that Eric already had 2 Seattle starters going into it, and he took a 3rd Seattle starter, which on one team is ridiculous.
It's not really ridiculous because it's not like they're fighting for a rotation spot. You take guys in talented offenses that
Seattle all of a sudden has a snow in the forecast, and their whole series gets canceled, and then you're going to be screwed.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I don't think there's hopefully going to be snow in April and May, but I could be wrong.
You never know.
I was going to say, that's my other guy. I've not just in our draft yesterday.
Too.
I have so much George Kirby.
Okay. I mean, anything you want to add?
I mean, David, you said most of it. I just think what's really impressive, he allowed 13 home runs in 130 innings last year. That's 0.9 home runs per 9, which you don't really see from a rookie. They usually sometimes leave the ball over the plate too much. It just speaks to his command. But the fact that he isn't getting hit hard, I really like him. And David, the more you're talking about it, the more I want to place a bet that he has the most strikeouts in the MLB.
I mean, I didn't go that far. I just said he's going to have a Shane Bieber leap where he's going to have a lot of strikeouts.
But I want to see the odds.
I mean, they're probably pretty high.
Get to Marty, and I'll pull it up right now.
Okay, Marty.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up on George Kirby so far this year in spring training at over 11.2 innings. He has 15 strikeouts with a 2.31 ERA. Only given up 1 bomb, only 3 earned runs over those 11.2 innings. I love everything I'm seeing. I love the ballpark. I think the team's on the up as far as be able to finally deliver the Mariners some wins. So everything there, he looks great. Command's insane. If he can just get a little bit more nasty stuff, if he worked on that, he's just because it's slightly below average, his stuff. So if he can get that next tier, then that's what we're talking about when he can be that like your 2nd starter, or 3rd starter.
He's not even on the bet slip on DraftKings.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I do think again, like I think that
John Gray on there, but
I think the strikeouts are coming this year in full force. So be ready. I think it's going to be exciting to watch him make that next leap. Elsie, your 3rd pitcher.
I want to get as much Zach Gallen as I can this year. He's someone who I think is now sort of one of the workhorses, 180 inning guys, one of the guys you can count on. He's going as the 29th pitcher off the board, pick 67 in the main event. Super solid season last year. Of course, big reason why his numbers were so impressive was the great run in the middle of his season where he went 40 plus innings in a row without giving up an earned run. What a run that was. But if that brought the season long numbers down to what they were, the amazing 2.4 4.1 ERA. But even if you go outside of you take that out of his season, his ERA was like 3.28. So he was really impressive, even outside of that fantastic run. I think Gallen has shown that he has that, get that 9 over a strikeout per inning, and giving you the innings, sort of like Sandy. He's got that deep arsenal, get you the innings, and over those innings, get you the strikeouts that you're looking for. And I'm really expecting Arizona to have an improved team, and hopefully it can bring us more than the 12 wins you got last season, because that's where upside might be for him.
Yeah, Zach Gallen is very exciting, and he's expected to be the ace of the staff of what could be one of the most improved teams in baseball this year with all their young
There was
talent.
like 2 or 3 times I was hoping Art was going to say, he's just got that dog in him.
Art doesn't say that.
But he was leading up to like he would say something like that.
Marty, your third pitcher.
We're going to do the unsexy Nick Pivetta. I have him in so many places that I have to. He's not one of those people that I'm like, yeah, he's going to be great, but like I have him everywhere, so I have to claim him. It's just, it's how it worked out. But yeah, his stuff's great. Average location. We'll see what his pitch plus is like. He's a workhorse. He should have plenty of starts. The Red Sox need him. Less AL East matchups. And for where he's going, even in a 15-team league, I'm going to only pitch him against bad teams. Like that's how much I'm sticking my neck out for him. But I have him on so many teams, I have to claim him. Nick Pivetta, he's my boy.
Do you enjoy pain?
Not normally, but I guess in this case, yes.
Fantasy baseball pain from Nick Pivetta. We could see what happens. That's I will give you credit for my guys taking it also in the way of where you have most exposure to. And just
I got him out of like 6 out of 9 teams or 6 out of 18. Like it's bad. It's bad. Like if he does well though, it's gonna be great. And if he doesn't, I can cut him. He's like my 7th. He's like my 7th or 8th SP on each team I have him on. So
that's good depth. What's up, Skylar? I don't see Skylar in the chat too often. Skylar's a fan of the show and also a great dude. So cool to see you there, Skylar. I think we're on our 4th I think I didn't do my 3rd one. I think we're on my 3rd one because Doc's 3rd one was George Kirby. My 3rd one, I'll save. This was the part where I had to I guess I'll go Sean Manea. And I want to caveat this because I still think he's going to have a bounce back year. I'm a little discouraged. What I've seen in spring training, the strikeout stuff has been really good. The strikeouts have definitely been improvement. But I have not been encouraged with how much hard contact he's been giving in spring training. Just long story short, he'd been kind of a better than league average pitcher pretty much most of his career. Last year was an outlier in all different regards. And the Giants basically take the seam, shift, and wake approach with a lot of their pitchers. And his arsenal kind of aligns well with what Logan Webb does with changeups and sinkers. So basically, they're going to use the seam, shift, and wake approach to help that with Sean Manea. And I think that that's going to make a big difference. Maybe in the regular season, he'll look a lot better. Again, the strikeouts have definitely been up, which is why I'm encouraged. But basically, for what seam, shift, and wake is the dummies guide, because I don't even fully understand it. Basically, the pitch comes out and it looks the same all the way through. The spin rates are similar, but it's very different movement on the ball. So that's kind of how you can get away with that seam, shift, and wake type of approach there. So that's why I like Sean Manea. And Tony says Marty rolling with the late rounders.
Yes, sir.
David is going to get the biggest helping of I told you so when Sean Manea sucks and we all said I told you so.
Well, I will say that's the 3rd time you've explained the seam shifted wake, and that was your best one yet. I actually understood that one. That was great.
Right. I think I said that every time, didn't I?
That's what I mean. I think that was your I'm saying like that's the most thorough time. Like you're getting better at explaining it each time.
Just call me a young Enoceros.
I won't do that, but all right.
Marty, why don't you give us we'll go around the horn. Give us the last one. You can start it off.
I already gave mine. Gray, Contreras, Kirby, and Pivetta. You got all 4 of my guys.
That's right, because you did Kirby too. Okay.
I hopped on the Kirby train. Yep.
Okay. LC, last one.
I'm really excited about David Peterson getting a chance with the Mets. I love his strikeout stuff. I thought he looked really good to close out last season, and I'm excited he's getting a little chance to earn that position. I've picked him up in a lot of my leagues. I think, he has
Did you
that.
did you get him last night?
I do not think so. I don't think so. No. Did you get him?
I got him. Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah. Jerk store. They called. They're running out of you.
Okay, George Costanza. Yeah, he's a good call, and he won the fifth starter job, and which is huge for the Mets. And I think if I'm not mistaken, Tyler McGill was sent down, so it's not like he has a competition breathing down his neck.
Jeez, life comes at you fast. He's the story after the opening week, and now not even making the opening roster.
He'll be up, I'm sure, soon. The Mets always get injuries. Skylar Wisneski was.
You missed it, brother.
Yeah, we had a big Wisneski talk. That was I think it was 15 minutes ago.
Wisneski.
If you listen to the pod when it comes out tomorrow, or just watch the YouTube back, it's probably like 20 minutes ago. We talked about Hayden Wisneski. Doc, who was your last player?
You know what? It's been a guy I've been touting, Cionel Perez, the O setup guy. I've been taking him in DC 50s. I took him in triple players ball. I took him in TGFBI with my last pick. I haven't taken him in a home league, but the O's are projected to win between 76 to 78 games on most betting sites. They're not going to blow people out, and I think they're going to have the Royals approach where their starters go 5 innings, and then they have the bullpen come in. And I know everybody is drafting Felix Bautista, had a knee issue in spring training. I just don't think he's the solidified closer. Like everybody thought last year it was going to be who did they trade to the Tanner Scott right before the season started? Then it was Jorge Lopez, and they traded him away. I don't think Felix Bautista has as safe or as long a role as everybody thinks. And then Perez over spring training, he's gone 5 innings, 1 earned, 6 hits. I don't know. I think it's just a stash for a team that is going to have a lot of save opportunities.
Could be a good holds target too if you're just looking for a team that could play in a lot of close games that could have some holds available. Not bad there too. But yeah, you're definitely in on him. That's a good my guy to finish yours out, Doc. My guy is my favorite pitching breakout this year, Nick Lodolo, and he is just really turned his career around, even though it's an early career. In the beginning of the year, definitely kind of a little bit shaky, then had a back injury, 5.52 ERA at the time of his back injury. But really in the second half, once he, over his next 88.2 innings pitched, a 3.35 ERA, 3.55 xFIP, ground ball rate at about 47%. Overall in the season last year, 131 strikeouts and 103.1 innings pitched. The big change that he made, why I'm so excited, is an article that Justin Choi put out on Fangraphs, where he talked about Nick Lodolo adding 2 more horizontal inches of movement on his curveball. Did sacrifice a little bit of velocity, but that extra horizontal movement combined with the fact that he basically is one of those pitchers that, like, when he releases it, it looks like he's coming from his hip, adds so much deception on that curveball. It just changed his whole approach to how he approached hitters. They couldn't pick it up, and he was able to use that to start placing his sinkers in more favorable counts, and then to be able to have his fastball introduce more swing and misses. It's just overall just tremendous growth as a pitcher. He is somebody I'm, again, so excited about. Nick Lodolo, you got to draft Nick Lodolo. I have him more than any other player, hitter or pitcher, on any of my teams this year. If he gets hurt or he's bad, I will definitely eat it. But Nick Lodolo, if you want to see a full breakdown, it's on our YouTube channel. I did a breakdown of him that you can kind of see all the reasons. But yeah, I'm excited for him. Last couple things here. Deeper one there. Sean Wannabe, PB, and Jelly. Anyone? Is that supposed to be Sean Manea?
I don't know.
No, Jelly is like 6'11", one of the Giants pitching prospects. He could be up this year. I think he's going to be if he gets some of their starts. But
okay,
that's a deep pull, Sean Jelly. PB.
I didn't even know that's who he was pulling there. I didn't get the reference for a second. Okay, that's a good. I mean, I'm a more of a Kyle Harrison guy if we're talking about guys getting potentially prospects for them getting called up this year. I think Kyle Harrison's got great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick Lodolo, Tony, is the truth. Get some Nick Lodolo. But he did make the opening day roster, and he's nasty. So that's interesting. I'll have to keep an eye on him. That's a good way to end the show there, Skylar, to throw his name in there. I think that's our listeners can definitely look to see if he's on the wire as potential depth right now. But that's it. We did pretty much like 30 players in about a little over an hour. So hopefully you guys listened to all our reasons for all my guys. We got hitters and pitchers. So when you do your drafts over the next couple days here, just take in mind if you like any of the reasons we gave for some of these players, you draft them. And hopefully they can win you fantasy championships, because I'll tell you what, if you guys are listening to this podcast, then you are definitely not an average player. You're putting in the time to beat your league mates. So that's hopefully what we can do for you guys here. Give you those little guys we think that can take you to the top.
Yep.
Is there anything else we want to add here before we sign off for the night? Any special announcements next week will be
Yeah. I was gonna say, I just want to shout out to our listeners. Thank you for being with us all the off season. This is the time now. All that work you put in, the hundreds of hours of listening, doing the rankings and all those different drafts. Now we can just sit back, enjoy, and just watch baseball and just like really actually like fix our team. So now this is the second part of it. The most important part is paying attention to the waiver wire and everything. And we're going to be able to take you all the way there with our in-season show.
Marty said enjoy, like we're not going to stress out after 2 days that we picked a bad team.
That's true. Enjoy your team that does good that one day, and then the next day you hate it.
That's right.
Enjoy the ride.
We'll be having a new revamped in-season show, new segments. Soundboard will be back. We've got a new graphic for our show. Tons of great stuff that's going to be coming at the in-season show. We're going to really work hard to give you guys not just the best fantasy baseball content, but the most entertaining and most informative that we can. And I think there's an art in giving information to the listeners that's not just spewing out just data. I think you have to be able to find a nice balance between giving good data, but also giving it in a way that people can understand. I think we do a really good job of that here. I think that all four of us have a good balance of that. So if you guys enjoy the content and are excited for the regular season show, please make sure you guys like the videos on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. And if you guys are listening to the podcast, please make sure you guys leave a 5-star review, and ratings and reviews are always awesome. Even if it's not just for our show, for the Fantasy Baseball Beat or for the Call Up, all the shows on the Triple Play Fantasy Network, it's always appreciated.
Especially you Spotify listeners. Let's get those numbers up. I know you guys are out there. Just take the second. Give us 5 stars. What are we doing?
Give 5 stars for Marty's hat. Marty always comes.
Yes.
So
You breathe every second. Just think about the second you take breathing and give us a 5-star rating and review instead.
Now that's going to cost us a 5-star rating right there.
That's a 1-star right there.
For Doc, for Marty Party, for Lil Cheesecake, I'm DMendy. We're going to make like a bread truck and we're going to haul these buns. We'll talk to you guys next week for the first week of the regular season. Talk to you guys soon.